In the small town of Maple Hollow, nestled between dense woods and rolling hills, stood the old Grayson house. It had been abandoned for decades, its once white facade now a dull gray, the windows shattered like lost hopes. The townsfolk whispered stories about the family who had lived there, tales woven with threads of tragedy and mystery. Legend had it that Margaret Grayson, the last of the line, had gone mad after losing her children in a tragic accident. One stormy night, she vanished, leaving only echoes of her sorrow behind. Some claimed they could hear her weeping in the woods, while others swore they saw figures darting among the trees, ghostly children, forever searching for their mother. Curiosity gnawed at a group of friends, led by Jake, a local thrill-seeker with a penchant for the paranormal. One chilly October evening, they decided to explore the Grayson house, armed with flashlights and an old video camera. The air was thick with tension as they approached the creaking front door, its paint peeling like dried skin. Inside, the house was a time capsule of decay. Dust motes danced in the beams of their flashlights, and every floorboard groaned beneath their weight. They moved cautiously, the chill in the air wrapping around them like a shroud. The living room, once filled with laughter, now sat in eerie silence, save for the sound of their hushed breaths. "Look!" Sarah, the group skeptic, pointed to a framed photo on the wall. It depicted the Grayson family smiling, faces frozen in time. But something was off. In the corner of the photo stood a shadowy figure, indistinct yet undeniably present, as if it were peering at the family through the lens of the camera. Goosebumps erupted on Jake's arms. They ventured deeper into the house, discovering a staircase leading to the second floor. The air grew heavier, and an unsettling sensation crawled up their spines. At the top of the stairs, they found a child's bedroom, untouched by time. Toys lay scattered on the floor, and a lullaby drifted through the air, soft yet haunting. "Did you hear that?" whispered Tom, his eyes wide with fear. Before anyone could respond, a cold gust of wind blew through the room, extinguishing their flashlights. In the pitch black, panic set in. They fumbled to turn their lights back on, and when they did, a shadow darted past the doorway, leaving behind a chilling silence. "Let's get out of here," Sarah urged, her voice trembling. But before they could leave, they heard its soft whispers, like children playing just outside the door. Driven by a mix of fear and fascination, Jake pushed forward, his camera capturing every moment. "It's probably just the wind," he said, trying to convince himself. As they made their way down the hallway, the whispers grew louder, more distinct. "Mama, where are you?" The words chilled them to the bone, reverberating off the walls like a funeral dirge. Suddenly, a door slammed shut at the end of the hall. The group jumped, their hearts racing. They exchanged terrified glances but couldn't resist the pull of curiosity. They approached the door, and Jake pushed it open, revealing a darkened attic. The air was thick with dust, and the beams of their flashlights flickered nervously. In the corner, they spotted a rocking chair that seemed to sway gently, as if someone had just gotten up. On the floor lay an old, tattered doll with button eyes that appeared to follow them. Its mouth was painted in a perpetual frown. "Guys, let's just leave," Sarah insisted, her voice a mere whisper. But Jake, driven by a mix of bravado and fear, stepped closer to the chair. "Is anyone here?" he called, his voice echoing off the wooden beams. The room fell silent. Then, one by one, the whispers returned, growing more frantic. "Mama! Mama!" they cried, as if calling out from the depths of despair. The temperature dropped sharply, and the doll's eyes glistened in the faint light. In a sudden panic, they turned to flee, but the door slammed shut before they could reach it. The whispers crescendoed into wails, filling the attic with sorrowful cries. With their hearts pounding, they scrambled to the window, desperation pushing them to find escape. As they pushed it open, the wind howled, dragging them into the night. They jumped down, tumbling onto the grass, gasping for air. As they turned back, the house loomed behind them, a silhouette against the moonlit sky. But it was different now. In the window of the attic, a woman's face appeared, her eyes hollow and pleading, surrounded by a haze of ghostly children. "Mama," they echoed, their voices trailing into the wind. The friends never returned to the Grayson house, but the whispers of the woods lingered in their minds, haunting them with a dreadful truth: some stories are meant to be left untold, and some spirits never find peace. The friends stood in a daze in the moonlight, the oppressive aura of the Grayson house still weighing heavily upon them. Each of them felt the lingering chill that crept into their bones, a reminder that the house was no ordinary place. As they made their way back to town, the echoes of the children's cries reverberated in their minds, a haunting melody they couldn't shake. Days turned into weeks, but the experience haunted them relentlessly. Jake couldn't shake the feeling that they had awakened something. He started researching the Grayson family, poring over old newspapers and town records. Each article painted a picture of despair: Margaret's spiral into madness, the tragic accident that took her children, and her subsequent disappearance. The more he read, the more a sense of urgency consumed him. One evening, he gathered the group at a local diner, the only place in Maple Hollow that remained open past sunset. As they sipped their coffees, Jake leaned in, his voice low. "I think we need to go back." "Are you insane?" Sarah exclaimed, her eyes wide. "That place is cursed. We barely made it out alive." "I know," he replied. "But what if we can help them? The spirits, they're still trapped there and they need closure. We can't just leave them." Tom sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "What if it's too late? What if we stirred something that shouldn't be disturbed?" But the idea of leaving it alone gnawed at them, especially as the days passed and the whispers grew more vivid in their dreams. Each night, they heard the wails of the children, calling for their mother, echoing through the dark corridors of their minds. Finally, they agreed. Under the cover of another moonless night, they set out for the Grayson house, armed with flashlights, a voice recorder, and a determination to uncover the truth. The woods felt alive around them, branches twisting like skeletal fingers reaching out for their skin. Every sound a rustle, a crack sent shivers down their spines. When they arrived at the house, it loomed even more ominously than before. The door creaked open as if inviting them in, and a gust of cold air wrapped around them, whispering promises of secrets buried deep within the walls. This time, they ventured straight to the attic, compelled by an unseen force. As they climbed the stairs, a sense of dread hung in the air, thickening with each step. They reached the attic door, and with a deep breath, Jake turned the handle. Inside, the room felt different. The rocking chair sat eerily still, but the air crackled with energy. They set up their equipment, Jake's camera aimed at the chair, the recorder poised to capture any whispers that might escape the room. As they waited in the oppressive silence, Sarah broke the tension. "What do you think happened to Margaret? Did she lose her mind? Or was there something else?" Before anyone could respond, the temperature dropped sharply, and the doll's button eyes glimmered as if alive. The whispers returned, but this time they were clear. "Mama, help us." Jake's heart raced as he glanced at the recorder. "Did you hear that?" he whispered. Tom nodded, his face pale. "We need to respond. They want something." With trembling hands, Jake spoke into the air. "We're here to help you. Can you tell us what you need?" The room fell silent, and for a moment, they held their breath, hoping for an answer. Suddenly, the rocking chair began to sway gently, as if stirred by an unseen force. The whispers intensified, transforming into frantic pleas. "Find her! Find Mama!" Sarah shivered, her instincts screaming to run, but Jake stepped closer to the chair. "What do you mean? Where is she?" As if in response, the doll flew off the floor and landed at Jake's feet, revealing a hidden compartment beneath the chair. Heart pounding, he knelt and opened it, discovering a small, dusty locket. Inside was a faded picture of Margaret and her children, their faces frozen in time. Before they could comprehend the significance, the whispers crescendoed into a haunting wail. "Mama!" The sound filled the attic, wrapping around them like a storm. The air thickened, and shadows began to swirl, taking form in the dim light. Jake's instincts kicked in. He grabbed the recorder, hoping to capture whatever was happening. The shadows coalesced, and the anguished figures of the children materialized, their eyes wide and pleading. They reached out with ghostly hands, desperately trying to touch something, someone just beyond their reach. The realization hit Jake like a wave. They were not just trapped, they were searching for their mother. In that moment, something inside him shifted. "We'll find her," he promised, his voice steady. "We'll help you." But as he spoke, the shadows darkened, swirling with a malevolent energy. The attic felt like it was closing in around them, the walls trembling with rage. A voice, deeper and more sinister than the children's, boomed through the room. "You cannot help them. They belong to me." The lights flickered, and the air crackled with electric tension. Panic surged through the group, but Jake stood firm, clutching the locket tightly. "What do you want?" he shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. "I want them to forget," the voice hissed. "Forget their mother. Forget their pain. Let them join me in the dark." The shadows writhed, and the children's faces contorted in anguish. Jake knew he had to act fast. He turned to the group. "We need to give them hope. We can't let them give in to despair." Sarah, finding her courage, stepped forward. "What if we show them the locket? Maybe it will remind them of who they are." With no time to waste, Jake held up the locket, letting its faded image catch the flickering light. "Look, this is your mother. She's still out there. You can find her." The children hesitated, their expressions shifting from terror to recognition. The shadows wavered, their form flickering as if they were fighting against a powerful tide. "Stay with us," Tom shouted, his voice breaking through the cacophony. "You can be free. Don't let the darkness take you." As they spoke, the whispers softened, morphing into echoes of laughter and love. The children reached out, their spectral hands trembling. Jake's heart raced as he realized that hope could pierce through the despair. But just as they seemed to break through, the malevolent voice roared in fury, shaking the very foundations of the house. "No, you will not take them from me." The air crackled, and the shadows surged, threatening to engulf them all. In that moment, they knew they had to make a choice. Stay and fight, or flee and let the darkness consume the lost souls forever. With the locket clutched tightly, Jake shouted, "We're not leaving you. You deserve to be free." And as the darkness closed in, a brilliant light erupted from the locket, illuminating the room and pushing back the shadows. The air filled with the sweet scent of wildflowers, and the cries of the children transformed into joyous laughter. But the battle was far from over. As the light pulsed, the house shuddered, and the sinister voice roared in protest. Would they be able to save the lost spirits, or would they too become trapped in the Grayson house, forever haunted by the echoes of despair? With time running out, they braced themselves for the final confrontation, knowing that the fate of the children and their own souls hung in the balance. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you liked this story. The blinding light from the locket enveloped the attic, pushing back the shadows that had threatened to consume them. The cries of the children transformed into joyful giggles, a sweet sound that resonated in the heavy air. But the sinister voice of darkness was relentless, howling in fury, its anger palpable. "Foolish mortals," it thundered. "You cannot break the bond one have forged with them." Jake felt the warmth of the light surrounding him, almost as if it were alive, but he knew they had to keep fighting. "Stay close," he shouted to his friends, clutching the locket tightly in his hand. "We have to show them they're not alone." The spectral figures of the children flickered at the edge of the light, their faces etched with longing. They reached out, caught between the warmth of hope and the suffocating darkness. Jake took a step forward, heart racing, and lifted the locket higher. "Remember your mother. Remember her love." As he spoke, the children's eyes widened, recognition sparking in their expressions. The air filled with a flurry of memories. Sunny days in the meadow, laughter echoing through the trees, Margaret's soft voice reading bedtime stories. The memories radiated from the locket like tendrils of light, weaving around the children, binding them to their past. But the dark presence recoiled, thrashing against the light. No, you will not take them from me. The room quaked, dust raining down as the shadows writhed in agony. We're not afraid of you, Sarah shouted, stepping forward with newfound determination. You can't hold them anymore. They deserve peace. With each word, the light grew brighter, illuminating every corner of the attic. The children stepped closer to it, their faces now filled with hope. Mama! Mama! They cried out, their voices ringing clear as they broke free from the clutches of despair. The darkness shrieked, a sound that pierced the very fabric of reality. You will regret this. I will take what is mine. But it was too late. The warmth of love surged through the room, embracing the children. They glided forward, their spectral forms coalescing into radiant beams of light. We want to go home, they cried in unison, their voices harmonizing in a chorus of hope. Jake, emboldened by their resolve, raised the locket higher. Then follow the light. Find your mother. She's waiting for you. As the children reached for the light, the shadows screamed and twisted in a desperate attempt to pull them back. The attic trembled, and the walls began to crack. In that moment of chaos, the children surged forward, breaking free from the darkness that had ensnared them for so long. A blinding flash erupted, and the entire attic was filled with a brilliant glow. The shadows shrieked one last time, disintegrating into wisps of smoke that faded into nothingness. In that moment, the children vanished, leaving behind a lingering warmth. The oppressive weight that had hung over the house lifted, and a soft breeze swept through the attic, carrying with it the faint scent of wildflowers and laughter, a promise of peace at last. But as the light dimmed and silence enveloped the room, Jake felt a chill in the air again. The struggle had not come without a cost. The locket lay in his hand, cold and dull, its magic seemingly spent. He looked around at his friends, their faces a mixture of relief and confusion. Did we really do it? Tom asked, his voice trembling. I think so, Jake replied, still trying to process what had just happened. But a sense of dread began to creep in. If the children were free, what about Margaret? They had only seen the children's spirits. Where was their mother? Just then, the air thickened again, and a figure began to materialize at the edge of the attic, a woman in a flowing white dress, her hair long and dark, her eyes filled with both sorrow and gratitude. Margaret, Jake breathed, stepping forward. She looked at them, a mixture of hope and despair flickering across her face. You found them, she whispered, her voice a soft echo. But I cannot leave this place. I am bound to my grief. The realization hit them all at once. They hadn't just freed the children. They had to help Margaret, too. We can help you, Sarah urged, stepping beside Jake. You don't have to stay here. Your children are free now. They need you. Margaret's form flickered, uncertainty clouding her eyes. But I caused their pain. Couldn't save them. I am not worthy of their love. Jake felt a surge of compassion. You loved them. That's what matters. You have to believe that. They want you to find peace. They want you to know they forgive you. As he spoke, the remnants of the light from the locket began to glow again, a flicker of hope igniting within it. The room pulsed with energy, the walls resonating with the memories of love, laughter, and the unbreakable bond between a mother and her children. Margaret, he pleaded, let us help you find your way. Don't let your grief bind you any longer. Tears streamed down her face as she looked at them, the shadows of despair still lingering but beginning to lift. Can you really help me? We can, Tom affirmed, his voice steady. But you must trust us and let go of your pain. In that moment, the attic shimmered with light, the air vibrating with the warmth of their shared hope. The locket, now glowing brighter than ever, pulsed like a heartbeat. As they held it out to Margaret, the energy surged, wrapping around her like a warm embrace. With a deep breath, she stepped forward, the warmth filling her with courage. I want to see them again. I want to feel their love. The air shimmered, and for a moment, they saw the flickering forms of the children in the distance, their faces bright with joy, reaching out to their mother. Come, Mama. Come to us. they called, their voices like a gentle breeze. With a final surge of light, Margaret stepped into the glow, and the room erupted in warmth and brightness. The shadows retreated, dissipating into the air as Margaret joined her children, their spirits intertwining, a radiant tapestry of love. As the last remnants of darkness faded, Jake, Sarah, and Tom stood together, breathless yet filled with a profound sense of peace. They had faced the darkness and emerged victorious, but as they gazed at the now empty attic, a new understanding settled within them. The Grayson house would no longer be a place of sorrow. They had turned it into a sanctuary of love, where memories could finally rest. The air was still, the oppressive weight lifted, leaving behind only echoes of laughter and joy. Yet, as they made their way down the stairs and out into the cool night, Jake felt a flicker of unease. The woods surrounding the house felt alive, and the whispers that had haunted them now danced in the trees. Though they had freed the spirits of the Grayson family, he couldn't shake the feeling that the woods held other secrets, other stories waiting to be told. The journey they had embarked on was far from over, and as they stepped into the night, the path ahead remained shrouded in mystery. The echoes of the past would always linger, a reminder that some tales are never truly finished, but rather transformed, waiting for the next chapter to unfold. As the trio stepped into the cool night, the air was thick with the scent of pine and a lingering warmth from the attic. Though they had freed Margaret and her children, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that the woods were alive with whispers, as if the spirits of others were still trapped in the shadows. "Do you think it's over?" Sarah asked, glancing back at the now peaceful Grayson house. Jake hesitated. "I think we've done something good, but I can't help feeling there are more stories hidden here." Suddenly, a soft breeze rustled the leaves, and they heard faint laughter echoing from deep within the woods. It felt both inviting and eerie, like a siren's call. "Let's go home," Tom urged, casting a wary glance at the trees. "We've faced enough for one night." As they walked away, the whispers in the woods faded, but the promise of more adventures lingered in the air. They knew the tales of Maple Hollow were far from finished, and that the bond they had formed facing darkness together would guide them into whatever lay ahead. In the heart of the woods, a light flickered briefly, a reminder that while some spirits had found peace, others were still waiting for their stories to be told. And the Grayson house, once a place of sorrow, now stood as a beacon of hope, forever echoing with laughter and love, an eternal reminder that light can prevail over darkness. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you liked this story.